How you doing, guys? Welcome back. It's LSP. It's currently the 6th of September 2022. So as expected, the market has taken a downturn today. We're going to get over to the charts in a moment. I'm going to talk about Bitcoin and Binance, the usual stuff. But before I do, I want to quickly mention, you guys know that I've been saying to be cautious, to stay away from the markets, to keep your powder dry. And it's not because I'm here to say I'm right, everybody else is wrong. There's been many people that have been calling the markets lower, and there've been many people that have been calling the markets higher. Somebody's going to be right, okay? But in my experience, for me personally, and what I like to do is I like to wait for confirmation. You guys know this. And is this confirmation that price is putting in a bottom? No. Is it confirmation that we're getting some sort of, stabilization in price? Absolutely not. If anything, for me, today was the confirmation, or a small amount of confirmation, that price is in fact starting its downtrend, not, putting in a bottom effectively. And I want to quickly expand on that before I get over to the charts. I'm not saying that this move, or at least this bearish move, is starting now. I'm saying this is another leg down. If you remember, in one of the videos that I made quite a while ago, I was saying this is an impulse move, okay, which means it's going to start ramping up. So there are lower levels. Obviously, I've been tweeting 261, whatever it was, on Twitter. And I keep throwing things out there. I'm really trying. I'm throwing out, bones. I'm trying to explain in as clear terms as I can, without giving financial advice that the markets simply are not tradable in the sense of now's the time to be engaging in the markets. It really isn't. Look around, see the effect that it's having on the individual. I'm not talking about the markets right now. I'm just talking about globally. Everybody's suffering. Okay. Gas prices, electricity prices, all of this stuff, guys. So when you look at the effect on the individual, and you look at the effect on businesses, you look at the effect on economies around the world, none of this is going to end well. How can it? People are selling their assets to pay for their electricity bills. There are also people who are taking out payday loans, taking out payday loans. Sorry, I just turned this off, to pay for their electricity bills. I mean, that's absolutely insane. So we'll get over to the charts and we'll try and get a feel for what Bitcoin and Binance are doing at the moment, because obviously most of the things that we discuss and most of the engagement that we have within the cryptocurrency space, at least predominantly the community that watches my videos, is on the Binance Smart Chain. And obviously when Binance was taking that, nice little run to the upside, I got a lot of shit, guys, to be fair. People giving me grief. This is why I stopped making the videos for a little while. I just wanted the market to do the talking. So we're going to focus on, Binance, and we're going to focus predominantly on Binance today, but obviously I'll go over Bitcoin as well. And we'll see where all of this is going to take us. So let's get over to the charts and let's take a look at, today's movement and try and get a feel for what we're seeing. Now, obviously you can see that Binance, and this is something that I made a mention to. It's so important what I'm going to say. If you remember, again, in one of the videos that I was saying, look at the difference between Binance and Bitcoin and the way that Binance is exasperated. Its ranges are much more pronounced, okay? So this is something that we need to pay attention to. We've had a little bit of movement down, on Bitcoin. It did go sub 19 at one point today. I believe the low was in at 1888, or 18,888. Wow, it's a lot of eights. But basically, that's, for Bitcoin, it's not an insane amount of movement, but look at the aggressive nature in which Binance has taken that drop compared to the relative movement, on Bitcoin. So this is something that we have to be aware of. So when we're looking at Binance on the weekly chart and we're saying, wow, this, it looks like it's strong. It looks like it's just pulling back. Actually, no, it's not. I know that Bitcoin is pulling in a little bit more. And we'll just do this so we can see. I know that Bitcoin's pulling a little bit more, and it's almost at the end of, full negation of this move to the upside. So it's effectively voiding that move there. This move back down is effectively voiding that move. And when you look at the difference between the two, you say, well, Binance is showing a little bit more strength. Binance looks like it's just pulling back to maybe find some buyers here, and then off it goes to 360, 400, and so on. I don't think that's the case at all, because at the end of the day, when we finally hit 3, which I firmly believe we're going to end up hitting at some point, even if it goes up a bit and down, it's, for me, I believe we're going to hit number 3. Okay. Number 3 comes in, at roughly around about sort of 18. So let's just say below 17,500, right? I believe that that's where Bitcoin's going to end up at some point. And then we watch the reaction, then we go through this entire process again. But with that said, if we go back to Binance, let's say Bitcoin does get to, sort of 17.5. Where does that put Binance? Well, it's going to put Binance at least at 240 to 230, okay? Assuming that Bitcoin gets down there nice and slowly. If Bitcoin really starts to aggressively move to the downside, we're going to be in trouble because Binance is going to go with it. And if Binance goes with it, Binance is probably going to end up, roughly around about 200 again, right? I know you guys know that I've been speaking about, the 148 level. It's still on my chart, and I'm not going to go through all of the reasons why I believe, that Binance is going to end up down there and why it's still on my chart. But the reality is, if, as I was saying, we end up in a situation where Bitcoin really starts to move to the downside, it is going to take Binance with it. So it's about being patient. It's about being cautious. It's about, having a plan and making sure that whatever it is that you're doing, you're doing it with some purpose. When I look at the charts, I can see that obviously I make references for you guys to actually look and see where price is going to end up, right? This one here, I made a reference to it. I made it really thick to, for it really stand out. It's a key level price. Came close to it, but eventually it hits it. It stabilized a little bit. And then obviously today we're getting a bit of a downturn. Now, we still have a little bit more to go in terms of that, 261. I do believe we'll end up down there. And then obviously we're going to make a reference to a new liquidity pool now, which is basically this one here. It's pretty long. It's pretty wide. It needs to be a little bit less actually. Pretty long and pretty wide. And that puts us in, roughly, let's do this, 261.17-ish to around about sort of 239.78. So we need to see what the response is here. Now, the way in which price comes into this and starts to absorb that liquidity tells us so much, okay? Is there a response there? Is it aggressive? Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it just grinding and so on? All of these tell a picture. And it's not about technical analysis. It's not about looking at all of this stuff and saying, okay, price is moving in a way that once it does this, the probability is that it hits the 50% retracement level on the Fibonacci, hits a trend line, and it's just going to turn. It's not what this is about. I keep saying that this is a representation of what's happening in the market. So for example, if there's speed, this is the best way to say it. If you're looking at a chart and it explodes to the upside or to the downside with aggressive speed, and you see that candle growing and growing and growing, that tells you something. It says that market participants, and this is predominantly to the downside, market participants, for example, if price is exploding to the downside, are panicking. There is panic selling. There's a lot of selling going on in a short period of time. Liquidity dries up, and then obviously you have to look at the chart and say, okay, where is there liquidity that price is probably going to end up reaching for? It's a representation of what is going on around the world globally in terms of investments in those markets. It's not about lines or boxes or anything like that, okay? So bear that in mind. Going forward, I know I'm rambling a little bit today, but this is important. I think there's a lot that we need to be paying attention to over the coming weeks. And actually, what I want to do, if I just quickly go over to, and let me just get a different chart here so we can see what's going on. This is, sorry guys, 1 second. So the flow. Yeah, so it still lines up. Let me show you this chart. Obviously, you guys know this chart by now. So when I was saying this is an impulse, okay, and the start of another leg, right here, okay, so we had a drop, it paused on that liquidity pool, okay, and instead of responding, instead of absorbing, instead of picking up buy-side liquidity or anything like that, it's basically just sat there for a while, and then now we're getting that secondary turn to the downside at the start of the month where we could predominantly get aggressive moves to the downside. We've got news coming out, we've got the rate hikes at the end of the month and so on. There's a lot going on in September. So if that starts to go, it's probably going to end up at least to the bottom end of this liquidity pool, which puts us in roughly around about sort of 15.8. Now there's a lot of people calling for 15 to 16, probably going to put a bottom in there. Again, I'm not going to say anything about that for now. I believe we go a little bit lower, but for now, for me, if you remember quite a while ago, I put out a video and on the thumbnail of that video was 14K. There's a reason that I post these videos. Again, it isn't because I'm always right. It isn't because I think I know what I'm, that I think I'm better than anybody. It's nothing to do with that. It is, for me, a way for me to go back and say, look, if you look at the process, that I've gone through on the charts, you can start to feel the flow of orders and the way that price is moving. And then you can apply that to your own personal trading and investing in the sense of watching, waiting, and looking for those opportune moments, right, to actually engage in the markets instead of haphazardly saying, I'm just going to keep buying as it goes down. So anyway, I am rambling a little bit now. But again, I have a very, very strong passion, for investing, for charting, for doing the things that I do. And I'm hoping that there's many of you out there that are finding value in what I'm doing, which I know there is. I know it's only a small group of people that give me a little bit of grief, which is absolutely fine. I don't mind it at all. It doesn't bother me in any way. I just get a little bit frustrated because there's so much to learn, and there's so much that people can avoid. Instead of throwing their money away, they can actually get in at better prices and so on, instead of allowing their emotions to do the trading and investing for them. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that, guys. I hope the video has been informative in some way. I'm going to do a little bit more of a breakdown at some point, in terms of the actual key levels on the lower time frames, so I can try and get a feel for a little bit of timing in the sense of that run up to the rate hike towards the end of the month. So I'll see how that goes, and then I'll post a video with a little bit more information at some point. But with all of that said, I hope everyone's having an absolutely fantastic day or evening wherever you're in the world, and I look forward to speaking to you very, very soon. All the best. Take care. Ciao for now.